Episode number 253. That ring I have. The counted words of Thursday and the datagnon of today are the same person. The imprudent young man expected a surprise, mixed with shame, a slight storm, which would resolve itself into tears, but he was strangely deceived, and the error was not of long duration. Pale and trembling, Milady repulsed Datagnon's attempted embrace by a violent blow on the chest, as she sprang out of bed. It was almost broad daylight. Datagnon detained her by a night-dress of fine India linen, to implore pardon, but she, with a strong movement, tried to escape. Then the cambric was torn from her beautiful shoulders, and on one of those lovely shoulders, round and white, Datagnon recognized, with inexpressible astonishment, the fleur de relief, that indelible mark, which the hand of the infamous executioner had imprinted. "Great God!" cried Datagnon, loosing his hold of her dress, and remaining mute, motionless, and frozen. But Milady felt herself denounced even by his terror. He had doubtless seen all. The young man now knew a secret, a terrible secret, the secret she concealed even from her maid with such care, the secret of which all the world was ignorant, except himself. She turned upon him, no longer like a furious woman, but like a wounded panther. "Ah, wretch!" cried she, "you have basely betrayed me, and still more, you have my secret. You shall die." And she flew to a little inlaid casket, which stood upon the dressing table, opened it with a feverish and trembling hand, drew from it a small poniard, with a golden haft, and a sharp tin blade, and then threw herself with a bound upon Datagnon. Although the young man was brave, as we know, he was terrified at that wild countenance, those terribly dilated pupils, those pale cheeks, and those bleeding lips. He recoiled to the other side of the room as he would have done from a serpent, which was crawling toward him, and his sword coming in contact with his nervous hand, he drew it almost unconsciously from the scabbard. But without taking any heed of the sword, Milady endeavored to get near enough to him to stab him, and did not stop till she felt the sharp point at her throat. She then tried to seize the sword with her hands, but Datagnon kept it free from her grasp, and presenting the point, sometimes at her eyes, sometimes at her breast, compelled her to glide behind the bedstead, while he aimed at making his retreat by the door, which led to Kitty's apartment. Milady during this time continued to strike at him with horrible fury, screaming in a formidable way. As all this, however, bore some resemblance to a duel, Datagnon began to recover himself little by little. "Well, beautiful lady, very well," said he. "But, pardieu, if you don't calm yourself, I will design a second fleur de relief upon one of those pretty cheeks." "Scoundrel, infamous scoundrel!" howled Milady. But Datagnon, still keeping on the defensive, drew near to Kitty's door. At the noise they made, she now overturning the furniture in her efforts to get at him, in screening himself behind the furniture to keep out of her reach. Kitty opened the door. Datagnon, who had unceasingly maneuvered to gain this point, was not at more than 3 paces from it. With one spring he flew from the chamber of Milady into that of the maid, and quick as lightning, he slammed to the door, and placed all his weight against it, while Kitty pushed the bolts.